young, my older brother and I loved the Indiana Jones movies. I'm hoping this is going to ring a bell with some people, right? The ones where Harrison Ford plays the archaeologist who saves the world over and over. We've actually talked in here about Covenant and that first film, The Raiders of the Lost Ark. But today I want to remind you of a small moment in the third film, The Last Crusade, which was and remains my personal favorite. Indy and his father are basically in a race against time and the Nazis to find Jesus' cup from the Last Supper, right? They manage to locate the place, right, where the cup is, this like cave complex. But of course, there's a series of booby traps that Indiana has to get through to make it to the place where the cup is. And as he's avoiding dying on the way to get the cup, you may or may not remember Sean Connery, who plays his dad, is like sort of actually dying while he's trying to go get the cup. Indiana has this book of clues and hints that his father has amassed over the years. So he has this parchment book that he's carrying with him through these booby traps. And one of the challenges or traps is called the Breath of God. And in the book of clues, it says, "Only with a leap from the lion's head shall he prove his worth." So Indiana's been moving through this massive caves, and suddenly he comes to the mouth of a cave. And below is this enormous crevasse. And he stands right there on the precipice, and he recites those lines, "Only with a leap shall he prove his worth." And he realizes that it's a test of faith, and he puts his hand over his heart, and he lifts his leg sort of ridiculously high up in the air and steps forward, and his foot thuds down onto this bridge. A bridge that was previously imperceptible because it sort of meltingly camouflages against the rock of this big crevasse. But it's there. The bridge was there the whole time. And he walks across and he turns back from the opposite side and he throws some sand across it so that when it comes time to come back across, he won't forget that it's there. He'll be able to see it, to know it. I've been thinking a lot about change, perhaps obviously, as we enter these last 6 or so weeks together. I've been thinking about what it will be like for me and my family to take a step into a different life. I've been thinking about how it has already felt to begin separating and what it will feel like to walk away from here. And I thought about what it'll be like for you all, what kind of faith it will take for you to take your next step, walking out into what is the unknown. Faith in your leadership, faith in yourselves, faith in the community you have built, faith in the professional ministers that will come in the future to partner with you. I've thought about the challenge of that, and I've wondered what we could do and I could do in these last 6 weeks to sort of help us prepare bit by bit. And one of the things we can do is to talk here, not about the transition and the leaving every single Sunday for the next 6 weeks in a way that feels redundant and frustrating, but rather we're going to take time in a way that feels hopefully good to remind each other of all that this congregation is, all that this community is on the path to becoming, of the challenges that you might face, of the strength at your core, of the mission and the vision and the covenant that you have set for yourselves. We'll remind each other of the growth and the change you've undergone and the road you have yet to travel. Today, as we've recognized the peace-loving origins of Mother's Day that call us into compassionate relationships that cross boundaries, I'm going to use the work of the poet and writer and philosopher Mark Nepo to talk about what it means to build a community like this, to be bridges for each other, to each other, what it means to connect and why it matters so very much. The world that we live in can be lonely. We can feel disconnected and discouraged. In ways that sometimes sort of mystify me, technology has brought us infinitely closer and also somehow more disconnected. We're encouraged to be fearful by the media, by our larger society. There's kind of no question about that in my mind. And often the result of that feeling of fear is that we isolate, we pull back, we retreat in ways that help us feel safe, even if we know that's not how it's actually going to play out. We sometimes fall into the trap of believing that if we don't make any connections, if we don't care, if we stay away from everyone, we'll be safe and secure in our own little bubble and we won't have to worry about being hurt. And that might be true in some ways, but I would venture to guess that many of us know from personal experience that the isolating and the pulling away from everything ultimately only ends up hurting us even more. Yes, we can all acknowledge that there are situations and people from which we absolutely should withdraw. I'm talking about that temptation to pull back from everything. And that only leads us into darker places. And my sense personally has been that these past months, however many it's been now, have been hard to move through without the temptation to sort of pull away a little. What is it, like the ostrich, head in the sand a little bit, right? It's been hard to not be tempted. Circle the wagons, just look really inward and not. We're living in a strange time in our world, a time that tests our ability to withstand anxiety and worry and fear. We're living in a time when connection and community and shared values, when a commitment to encourage and support and love are actually needed desperately. And so we're living in a time when a community like this will be increasingly vital outside of these walls. Because a community like this, where we can be honest, where we can lay down our cares and celebrate our triumphs, where we can be assured of a welcome and not a judgment, these are communities that will be the source of bridge building into the future. These are the communities that will be the places that people can be kept safe and secure while we wait for the brighter and breezier days. These are the communities that will stay determined to find the calm at the end of the storm, to create the passage through the troubled waters. These are the communities that will need to, and I believe will, stick it out, keep the faith, take that leap, because we know that behind us is a whole family of people who have our back, who would lay down for us, who will pick us up if we fall. These are the communities that help us as individuals heal, and that will be a source of healing for the world in the years that are coming. And that's what I want to remind you of today, that centrality of your strength and your mission and your purpose to be welcome and loving. When I first got here nearly 4 years ago, it was clear to me that this was a community of people that cared about each other, that worked for each other, that supported each other. And over the years, those relationships have seemed only to get deeper. That welcome that you offer has seemed only to grow wider. And I've been really proud of that. The way that the truth of your love and compassion and determination and justice-loving hearts has come out more and more and more. I've been proud of the commitment we've had to be a community, united and strong and crossing boundaries. I've seen you care for each other. I've seen you advocate for each other. I've seen you stumble and try again, all in pursuit of creating here a version of the loving and beloved community. And human relationships are complicated. They're fraught with failures and frailties and the humanness of the other person that we seek to be in relationship with. Mark Nepo, in the piece from the Chalice Lighting, in the larger piece, writes this: "Whether conscious of it or not, we are engaged in the search for the unknown other who might complete us and join us to the whole. Our longing to join and come alive is our birthright. And similar to pollination, we complete the world when, opening ourselves against great odds, some strange unknown partner inadvertently seeds our essence elsewhere. Inevitably, we are all searching for the other, the stranger, the conduit, living or not, sentient or not, the repeatable and varied bridge that might join us to ourselves and thereby to the whole of God's being." Whether or not you believe in God, or however you mean that word, Nepo is speaking a truth here about the fact that we are all on journeys, seeking and searching, looking for the bridges that will help us find our deepest selves, and thus enable us to be in deep and meaningful relationships in the wider world. We are all looking for those things that restore to us a sense of belonging, of community and of connection. He calls it the bridge of well-being. It's another way of talking about, and it's kind of like a pop psychology, self-actualization, right? It's another way of talking about that. Or in our mission, our deepest and truest selves, finding our best selves. And what he writes is that when we find that bridge and we come deeply into ourselves and we actualize in this way, what we also do is we come into a place of unity with the universe. We tap into something larger than ourselves when we are able to most be ourselves and offer that to the world. All of our gifts and our frailties. He writes that it seems that difficulty is woven into the design of life so that we need the presence of others to help us through and bring each other alive. The bridge of our well-being is often made visible when the stranger, the fellow, the completing other jars us to inhabit our life. I have been fascinated with bridges, he writes, for they always uphold the endless story of how we help each other from one point of aliveness to the next. The work of uncovering and realizing and becoming who we are, almost by definition, cannot be done alone. Although it is about that deep work of the self, it is best done in connection, in community, because ultimately that's what it's creating and seeking. It's in the act of seeing and being seen that each of us finds freedom and peace, and that a community builds strength and comes to be able to be a place of solace in the wider world. It is in embracing and holding and laying ourselves down as bridges for each other that we are able to find personal liberation and collective connection that helps to break and beat back the anxiety and fear and worry. It replaces those things with action and joy and hope for what might yet come to be. The sense of oneness that comes with being able to live deeply into our own well-being brings about a kind of calm and peace, things our world is desperately in need of. In the poem Steph read for us earlier, he writes that we cannot eliminate hunger, but we can feed each other. We cannot eliminate loneliness, but we can hold each other. We cannot eliminate pain, but we can live a life of compassion. Ultimately, we are small living things awakened in the stream, not gods who carved out rivers. When we awake, when we are awakened to our best selves, when we are seen and known and embraced, when we are able to accept the limitations of our own human lives, to accept that we are not perfect, we are not gods, we are not anything more or less than human. When we come alive in that way, we can feed each other and hold each other and be compassionate toward each other in ways that help the other come alive. Believing all of this, believing in the bridges and the coming alive and the depth of what we can offer to each other, believing in the possibility for peace and love and life, believing in all of that takes a lot of work, actually. It takes faith and it takes trust. It can be exhausting. It takes being willing to take steps forward even when we're not sure what the outcome will be. It means stepping in instead of pulling back. It means staying at the table, staying in community, not isolating ourselves. It means making ourselves vulnerable, allowing others to do the same. It means embracing all the best of our Unitarian Universalist values and upholding them every moment of our days, with everyone we encounter, through all the turbulence and the rain and the difficult times. It means being as real as we can be with each other, offering each other a safe place to be real. And it means letting ourselves search and stumble and journey on together, being and seeking the bridges that exist.
Each weekend, we make an offering from the bounty we are blessed to enjoy. We do this in a spirit of love and generosity, aware that we've benefited from those who have gone before, those who in their turn gave generously. Our offering goes to support the work of love and justice undertaken by this community. This month's Shared a Plate is with The Loft, down in White Plains, an LGBT center. If you are a visitor, there is no expectation that you participate in the offering. Consider yourself our guest. For those who regularly benefit from the work of this community, please give generously. The offering will now be gratefully received.
So that's really what I want to say to you today, is that I believe, I really do, that you, this community, has the power to be a bridge in the world. To be a place that Nebo talks about, that conduit or that stranger or that fellow. You have the chance to be, for each other and for the world, a conduit that helps people access their well-being, their best selves, and then live in the world in ways that further our goals of peace and equality and justice. The question, of course, is how. The question is always how. And part of it is indeed being willing to take a leap of faith, taking a step out onto the invisible bridge of the future. Part of that leap is also believing that you being you living your best life, is important, will set about good things in the world, is a meaningful act of existence. Part of that leap is trusting that you have a community waiting to catch you and build you up and hold you close and see you and love you for you. Part of that leap is also having the good sense to turn around once you've crossed the bridge and throw some sand down so you don't forget it's there next time you come across it. There's a lot of work to be done out in the world, but there's also so much joy and wonder and love to be shared. There is possibility and hope. If we commit, if we agree to stay in the work, if we determine to be our best selves and so connect to the energizing universe of which we are a part, then we can keep bridging the gap between where we are now and the world that we want to live in. We can help to create that world. We can help each other get there. Now also involves looking outside these walls, of digging deep and finding your best self and being a bridge for others here and then going out there. And instead of being camouflaged in the crevasse, making it known to the world that you are a bridge, that you are a conduit for deeper and more meaningful living, for joy and expanded love and justice. You are up to the task. You just need to trust in each other. And then, as Nepo says, you can do anything and go anywhere. Please rise and embody our spirit for our closing hymn, Come and Go With Me. What number is that?
10:14.
10:18.
Yes. We remain standing as we extinguish our chalice, and then the words are written in your order of service. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of penance. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
We can feed each other, we can hold each other, we can live a life of compassion, we can love each other. May we remember to do this each and every day, each and every moment. Go in peace.